chemical compounds in living organisms. All living and non-living matter is composed of chemical substances. Some of the chemical substances are in their simple elementary forms, such as sodium ions, chloride ions, while most are compounds made up of different elements that are combined together. Now, the study of compounds found in living organisms and the reactions in which they take part is known as biochemistry. Now, compounds in living organisms can either be organic or inorganic. So, biochemistry is a study of organic and inorganic compounds. Inorganic molecules include water, acids, bases, and salts, while organic molecules include carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and vitamins. Now, in this lesson, we'll start by looking at the carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are compounds that contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in the ratio of 1:2:1. Thus forming a basic formula of CH2, or in brackets N, where N refers to the number of carbon atoms a molecule of a carbohydrate has. Usually, the value of N varies between 3 and 6. So, for example, monosaccharides are the simplest of the carbohydrates, where the value of N is 3, 5, 6. In other carbohydrates, the value of N is larger. So, monosaccharides are simple sugars where the value of N is either 3, 5, or 6. When the value of N is 3, the formula is C3H6 or 3, and it is known as a triose sugar. So a triose sugar is a monosaccharide in which there are 3 carbon atoms, 6 hydrogen atoms, and 3 oxygen atoms per molecule. When N is 5, then the formula of the monosaccharide is C5H10 or 5, and it is known as a pentose sugar. Now, pentose sugars are used for the synthesis of nucleic acid, such as DNA and RNA, and also some enzymes and coenzymes. While triose sugar is an intermediate compound during photosynthesis. Before the formation of glucose, the first carbohydrate that is formed is the triose sugar. Also, triose sugar forms intermediate compounds during respiration. During respiration, sugars are broken down into simpler carbohydrates, which are normally the triose sugars. So triose sugars are intermediate compounds in both photosynthesis and respiration. Pentose sugars are used in the synthesis of DNA that make up chromosomes and RNA that are found in both the nucleus and the cytoplasm. Now, when the value of N is 6, then the formula of the monosaccharide is C6H12 or 6, and the sugar is said to be hexose sugar. Examples of hexose sugars are glucose, fructose that is found in fruits and vegetables, and galactose that is found in mammalian milk. Glucose is by far the commonest, not only of the hexosugars, but of the monosaccharides, as it is found in all living cells. Now, properties of monosaccharides. All monosaccharides are soluble in water. They completely dissolve in water. They are sweet to the taste. It is when they dissolve in water, they form sweet tasting solution. They are crystallizable. That is, when dried, they form tiny crystals. And 4, they are reducing sugars, which means when mixed with Benedict's reagent, which contains copper 2 sulfate, and heated, the monosaccharides reduce the copper 2 to copper 1 oxide. Copper 2 sulfate is blue in solution, and when it is heated with the reducing sugar, it's converted into copper 1. Copper 1 is red in color, but in solution it will appear as orange precipitate or brown or yellow. All depends on the amount of sugars that are present. It depends on the concentration of the monosaccharides that are present. So they're known as reducing sugars because they reduce the copper 2 sulfate in the Benedict's reagent, which is blue in color, to copper 1 oxide, which is a red precipitate, and depending on the amount of sugars that are present, this will appear as orange, brown, or yellow. Now, functions of monosaccharides. Monosaccharides are oxidase release energy, but the commonest respiratory substrate, one that is broken down to release energy, is glucose. Other monosaccharides are converted into glucose in the liver of mammals, for example. Then glucose is oxidase release energy in living cells. The second function of monosaccharides is the synthesis of other carbohydrates. Monosaccharides are the building blocks of disaccharides and polysaccharides.